I stared at the email notification on my phone. Subject line, RE, Gala seating chart, final. My hands were shaking. Not from nerves about the quarterly reports I was reviewing, but from the 3-word text that had arrived 20 minutes earlier. Mom, don't come Saturday. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just 3 words that landed like a slap across the face. I set down my coffee and opened the longer message that followed. Sweetie, I know we said you could come to my birthday gala, but your father and I have been thinking. The Ashfords will be there, Catherine's family, you know, your brother's fiancé's parents. They're major donors to the museum, and we really need to make a good impression. You understand, right? It's black tie, very formal, and I know you've been struggling with your little writing thing. We'll do something just us next week. Love you. My little writing thing. I read it again. Then a 3rd time. The Ashfords. Of course. Everything always came back to the Ashfords now. Ever since my brother Derek announced his engagement to Catherine Ashford 6 months ago, my parents had been performing like trained seals, desperate to prove they belonged in the same social stratosphere as Connecticut old money. And I, apparently, was a liability. I glanced at the framed photo on my desk. My team at the book launch last year, champagne glasses raised, confetti still falling. 30 people who knew exactly who I was. Who celebrated every milestone, every success, every risk I took. My family had no idea that photo existed. 6 years ago, when I told my parents I was going to write full-time, my father actually laughed. Not a chuckle, a full belly laugh like I'd just told the funniest joke he'd ever heard. Writing, he'd said. Honey, that's a hobby. Your brother has a real career. He's making partner at the firm. What are you going to do, write the next Harry Potter? My mother had been gentler but no less dismissive. We just want you to be practical, Maya. Maybe get your teaching certificate. At least that's stable. I'd moved out 3 weeks later. Got a studio apartment in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn, the kind of place my mother would call depressing and unsafe. I freelanced, I waitressed, I wrote every single day. I submitted to agents, collected rejections like baseball cards, kept going. My pen name, M.R. Cross, sold its first book 2 years later. By the time my 3rd novel hit the New York Times bestseller list, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to tell them. I needed to know something first. Something that kept me up at night, that made me sabotage every family dinner with my silence. Would they love Maya Rodriguez the person? Or would they only love M.R. Cross the brand? So I kept quiet. When they asked about work, I said, freelancing, you know. It pays the bills. Technically true. A $12 million book deal pays a lot of bills. I drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic to family dinners. Wore clothes from Target. Let them believe I was barely scraping by. Let them pity me. And I waited to see if they'd love me anyway. They didn't. Every gathering was a new small cut. My mother steering conversations away from me toward Derek's cases, his promotion, his engagement. My father's sympathetic head shake when I'd mention a project, like I was a child still believing in Santa Claus. Derek himself was better, genuinely interested, but even he'd absorbed the family narrative. Successful lawyer brother, struggling writer sister. Last Thanksgiving, my aunt had actually slipped me a $20 bill for groceries while my mother looked on approvingly. I'd used it to tip the valet at the restaurant where my publisher took me for our celebration dinner. We were finalizing the movie deal. Scarlett Johansson was attached to star. My family asked if I was dating anyone. Now this. Uninvited from my own mother's 60th birthday because I'd embarrassed them in front of the Ashfords. I picked up my phone and called my therapist. Dr. Chen, I said when she answered. I think my experiment just gave me my answer. Tell me what happened. I read her the text. There was a long pause. How do you feel? Like I want to throw up. Like I want to scream. Like I want to forward her my royalty statement and watch her choke on her Chardonnay. But that's not why I did this. I didn't keep it secret so I could have some big gotcha moment. I just wanted. My voice cracked. I just wanted them to see me. Just me. Without the accomplishments, without the money, without anything to brag about at their country club. I wanted to be enough just being their daughter. And now you know you're not. I wiped my eyes. Now I know I'm not. So what are you going to do? I looked at the invitation on my desk. Gold embossed, elegant script. Mrs. Patricia Rodriguez requests the honor of your presence. My name wasn't even on it. I'd gotten it from Derek, who'd insisted I be included on the guest list. I'm going to that gala, I said. Maya. Not for revenge. For me. Because I deserve to celebrate my mother's birthday. Because I'm her daughter, whether she wants me there or not. And because, I smiled, remembering something. Catherine Ashford is going to be there. Dr. Chen knew about Catherine. I'd mentioned her in our last session. How my mother had tried to use me as a networking opportunity. It had happened 3 weeks ago at a family dinner. Catherine had been talking about books, how reading had helped her through her father's cancer treatment. My mother, desperate to connect, had jumped in. Oh, my daughter writes. Maya, tell Catherine about your work. I'd kept it vague. I write fiction. Romance, mostly. Catherine had been genuinely interested. Have you published anything? I'd love to read it. Before I could answer, my mother had laughed. Not yet. But we're hopeful. Maybe someday, right, sweetie? In the meantime, maybe you could give her some tips, Catherine. Didn't you mention you know some people in publishing? Catherine's smile had frozen. Actually, Mrs. Rodriguez, I work in publishing. I'm a senior editor at Knightley and Ross. My publisher. Catherine and I had locked eyes across the table. I'd seen the exact moment she'd connected the dots. M.R. Cross. Maya Rodriguez. The author whose calls she'd been trying to return for months about the new manuscript. She'd excused herself to take a phone call. When she came back, she'd handed me her business card and said quietly, we should talk. Soon. We'd met for coffee 4 days later. She'd been apologetic, professional, and then, after I'd sworn her to secrecy, absolutely delighted. Your mother tried to get me to mentor you, she'd laughed. Oh my God. The irony. Please don't tell anyone, I'd begged. I know it's weird, but, no, I get it. Her smile had faded. My parents didn't talk to me for a year when I turned down Harvard Medical to study English. Family stuff is complicated. We'd become friends after that. Real friends, not just professional contacts. She told Derek she thought I was wonderful but hadn't mentioned our coffee dates or the fact that she knew exactly who M.R. Cross was. And now she'd saved me a seat at the gala. I texted her, my mom uninvited me. Long story. Can I still come as your +1? Her response was immediate, absolutely. I have plans for that night anyway. You'll see. Wear something fabulous. I looked at the dress hanging in my closet. Valentino, custom fitted, the same red I'd worn on the cover of Publishers Weekly. My mother had never seen it. She'd never seen the version of me who walked red carpets, who gave keynote speeches, who had an assistant and a publicist and a growing film production company. She'd only ever seen the version I'd shown her. The struggling artist. The disappointment. On Saturday, she'd see both. The River Club was exactly the kind of place my mother loved. All old money elegance and understated wealth, the kind of venue where you had to know someone to even get on the waiting list. Chandeliers dripped crystal, waiters moved like ghosts, and every surface gleamed. I arrived with Catherine. She'd insisted on picking me up, and I was grateful. Walking in alone would have destroyed my courage. You look incredible, she said as we pulled up. Ready? No. Good. The best moments never happen when we're ready. We walked in together, and I immediately spotted my family. My mother was holding court near the bar, my father beside her in his tuxedo, Derek and his fiancée Catherine's sister Emma laughing at something. They looked perfect, like an advertisement for successful family life. They hadn't noticed me yet. Catherine. My mother's voice rang out. Oh darling, I'm so glad you could make it. And you brought Maya? She said my name like a question. Like she wasn't quite sure I was real. I smiled. Hi Mom. Happy birthday. I thought we discussed this. You discussed it. I decided to come anyway. Catherine was kind enough to invite me as her guest. My mother's smile was strained. Of course. How lovely. Though I'm not sure we have a seat for you at the family table. She's at my table, Catherine interjected smoothly. I hope that's all right, Mrs. Rodriguez. We've become quite close recently. My mother's eyes narrowed slightly. This wasn't the script. Catherine Ashford, the prize daughter-in-law's sister, the museum donor's daughter, was supposed to be impressed by the Rodriguez family, not slumming it with the disappointing daughter. How nice, my mother managed. Well, enjoy the evening. We moved away, and I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. That went better than expected, I muttered. Catherine grinned. Oh, honey. We're just getting started. Dinner was torture. I was seated at Catherine's table, away from my family, which should have been a relief. But I could feel my mother's eyes on me all night. Checking my dress, probably wondering how I'd afforded it. Watching me chat easily with Catherine's friends, all publishing people, all treating me like I belonged. My father approached during cocktail hour. Maya. Glad you could make it after all. Thanks, Dad. Listen, about what your mother said. You know how she gets about these events. She just wants everything perfect. And I'm not perfect enough. He shifted uncomfortably. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Silence. He didn't have an answer. Or he did and couldn't say it. It's fine, Dad. I'm used to it. I walked away before he could respond. The speeches started after dessert. Derek went first, telling funny stories about growing up with Mom, making everyone laugh. Emma spoke about welcoming Patricia Rodriguez into the Ashford family with warmth and grace. Then Catherine stood up. My heart stopped. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, she began. But I realized I have something important to say. Mrs. Rodriguez, you've welcomed me into your family with open arms. You've been kind, generous, and thoughtful. And tonight, I want to honor that by sharing something special. She pulled out a book from beneath the table. My book. The latest one, the cover instantly recognizable to anyone who'd been in an airport in the last 6 months. This book changed my life, Catherine said. It came to me during the darkest period I've ever experienced, and it reminded me that stories matter. That words can heal. That somewhere out there, someone understands exactly what you're feeling. My mother was smiling, nodding along, clearly wondering where this was going. As many of you know, I'm an editor. And this book came across my desk 3 years ago from an author I'd been trying to sign for years. An author who writes under a pen name because she wanted her work to speak for itself, without the baggage of expectations or assumptions. I could see Derek starting to piece it together. His eyes widened. Mrs. Rodriguez, you told me once that your daughter was a writer. That you hoped someday she'd make it. That you'd tried to get me to mentor her. My mother's smile faltered. I wanted you to know, Catherine continued, that your daughter doesn't need my mentorship. In fact, I'm lucky to work with her. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to M.R. Cross. She gestured to me. The room went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping, standing, and I was frozen in my seat, watching my mother's face cycle through emotions too quickly to name. Shock. Confusion. Disbelief. Recognition. Horror. Catherine extended her hand to me. Maya, would you like to say a few words? I stood on shaking legs. Walked to the microphone. Looked out at a room full of strangers, and the family that had never really seen me. My voice caught. I wasn't expecting this. Gentle laughter. My mom doesn't know this, but I've been M.R. Cross for 6 years. I've published 5 books. 3 of them hit the New York Times bestseller list. 1 is being adapted into a movie. And I didn't tell anyone in my family because I looked directly at my mother. Because I needed to know if you'd love me without it. If Maya the person was enough. If I could come to Christmas dinner, to birthday parties, to Sunday brunch and be valued just for being your daughter. Not for what I achieved. Not for what I could brag about to your friends. Just me. My mother's face was white. But I couldn't. I continued. I could only be the disappointment. The one you gave grocery money to. The one you didn't introduce to important people. The one you uninvited from tonight because I'd embarrass you. Someone gasped. I think it was Emma. So I want to say thank you, Mom. Happy birthday. Because you taught me the most important lesson a writer can learn. That we teach people how to treat us. That boundaries matter. That love without respect isn't really love at all. I set down the microphone and walked back to my seat in complete silence. The applause started slowly, then built. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching my mother, who had stood up and was making her way toward me, my father trailing behind her. Maya. Her voice was shaking. I don't. How could you not tell us? How could you not ask? In 6 years, Mom, you never once asked to read anything I'd written. You never asked about my work beyond, are you making rent? You decided I was failing, and that became the only story you could see. We were trying to be supportive. We didn't want to push you, or make you feel bad about. About what? About following my dreams. About doing exactly what I said I would do. My father stepped forward. Maya, this isn't fair. We're proud of you, now you are. Now that Catherine announced it in front of everyone who matters to you. Now that you know you can tell your friends at the country club that your daughter is M.R. Cross. But 3 hours ago, you didn't want me here. My mother's eyes were filling with tears. That's not. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. I softened slightly. And maybe I should have told you. Maybe this whole thing was a terrible idea. But I was so tired, Mom. So tired of trying to earn something that should have been freely given. Derek appeared at my elbow. Can we talk? All of us. Somewhere private. We ended up in a small library off the main hall. Just family. Derek shut the door. Okay, he said. Everyone needs to calm down and actually talk to each other. My mother was crying openly now. I'm so sorry. Oh God, Maya, I'm so sorry. We thought you were struggling. That you needed help. We were trying to protect you from embarrassment. By being embarrassed of me? No. By. She collapsed into a chair. By making the same mistakes my parents made with me. That stopped me cold. What? My father moved to stand behind her, his hand on her shoulder. Your mother's parents never approved of her career. She was supposed to marry well, be a society wife. Instead, she got her MBA, worked in corporate finance for 20 years. They told her she was wasting her potential, that she'd never be happy. My mother looked up at me. They were snobs. They cared more about appearances than about me. And I swore I'd never do that to my children. That I'd support whatever you wanted to be. So you supported Derek's law career and tried to talk me out of writing. Because I was scared. The words burst out of her. Because I know how hard it is. How many people fail. How much rejection hurts. I didn't want you to spend your life struggling the way I saw so many artists struggle. So you decided I was struggling without even asking if I was okay. She nodded miserably. I see that now. Silence fell. Derek cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I knew something was up. Maya never asked to borrow money, never seemed stressed about bills. But I figured if she wanted to tell us, she would. You knew? My mother asked. I suspected. I trusted her. I felt something crack in my chest. All this time, I thought everyone had written me off. But Derek had been watching. Had believed in me even without proof. My father spoke quietly. What do you need from us, Maya? To make this right. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I need you to actually see me. Not M.R. Cross. Not the success story you can brag about. Me. The person who still drives a Honda Civic because I like it. Who wears Target jeans because they're comfortable. Who would rather have pizza and movie night than go to another charity gala. But you're here, my mother said. Because it's your birthday. Because despite everything, I wanted to celebrate with you. I just wanted to be invited as your daughter, not judged as a disappointment. My mother stood, crossed to me, and pulled me into a hug. She smelled like Chanel No. 5 and wine and something else, something I remembered from childhood. You were never a disappointment, she whispered. I was just too scared to admit, I didn't understand your world. That I felt like I was losing you. You were losing me. Because you kept pushing me away. I know. I'm so sorry. Can we start over? I pulled back to look at her. Really look at her. I saw fear there, and regret, and something else. Hope, maybe. Not start over. Move forward. But it has to be different, Mom. I can't keep proving myself to you. I can't keep waiting for you to decide I'm good enough. You are good enough. More than enough. With or without the books. Do you mean that? She nodded. I mean it. And I'll prove it. However long it takes. Derek put his arm around me. For what it's worth, I think you're pretty badass. Both of you. Mom for building a career when her parents told her not to. Maya for building one, even when she thought we didn't believe in her. I'm a dinosaur who doesn't understand computers, my father said suddenly. Or TikTok. Or why anyone would pay $12 for coffee. But I'm trying to learn. And I should have tried to learn about your work, Maya. Really learn, not just pat you on the head and hope you'd get a teaching certificate. Despite everything, I laughed. We talked for another hour. Really talked, maybe for the first time in years. My mother asked about my process, my books, my plans. Not to network or brag, but because she genuinely wanted to know. My father admitted he'd never read a romance novel and wasn't sure where to start. Start with mine, I said. But read them because you want to, not because you feel obligated. I want to, he said. I want to know what my daughter creates. Eventually, we had to go back to the party. Catherine found me immediately. You okay? Yeah. Actually. Yeah. Thank you. For tonight. For the push. She smiled. You deserve to be seen. And for what it's worth, I meant everything I said. Your work changed my life. Changed a lot of lives. Emma joined us, looping her arm through mine. So, future sister-in-law, think you could get me an advanced copy of the next one? I laughed. I'll see what I can do. My mother appeared with Derek, her mascara slightly smudged but her smile genuine. Maya, there are some people I'd like you to meet. Not as M.R. Cross. As my daughter. Is that okay? I looked at her. At the hope and fear and love in her eyes. At the family that had hurt me and was now, maybe, trying to heal. Yeah, Mom. That's okay. She took my hand. I really am proud of you. Of the person you are, not just what you've accomplished. I hope you know that. I'm starting to. Good. Because I have 6 years of being a terrible mother to make up for, and I intend to start tonight. She led me into the crowd, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt like I belonged there. Not because of my pen name or my royalties or my movie deal, but because I was Patricia Rodriguez's daughter, and she finally saw me for who I really was. The experiment was over. I had my answer. And surprisingly, it wasn't the answer I expected. My family hadn't loved me without my achievements. But they hadn't loved me because of them either. They'd been too scared, too caught up in their own insecurities, too blinded by their assumptions to love me at all. But now, maybe, they could start. I still drove my Honda Civic home that night. Still lived in my Brooklyn apartment with the questionable heating and the neighbors who played drums at 2 a.m. Still wore jeans from Target and wrote in coffee shops where nobody knew my name. But I also answered my mother's call, the next morning. Agreed to brunch with the family next Sunday. Let Derek read the manuscript I'd been working on. Baby steps. Boundaries. And the knowledge that I didn't need their approval to know my worth. I'd proven that to myself 6 years ago, when I decided to become M.R. Cross. Everything since then was just other people catching up.